What if the person everyone pities at the party is actually the only one they should fear? It's the single man who deliberately chose himself over settling down. You've met him before. Driven, self-reliant, laser-focused on his goals, yet somehow everyone around him acts like he's fundamentally broken. But here's where it gets interesting. Society labels him incomplete, Machiavelli. He called him something entirely different, something that would make you question everything you think you know about power. Picture this scenario. You're at a networking event, scanning the room. In one corner sits David, wedding ring gleaming, animated conversation about his wife's career, constantly checking his phone for family updates. Across the room stands Marcus, alone, watching, calculating, making moves without asking permission. Quick question: who has more real power? Most people would say David. He's complete, right? He's got it all figured out. They're dead wrong. Here's what's really happening. David's every decision gets filtered through someone else's fears and limitations. Marcus, he sees opportunities that David doesn't even know exist. David manages household negotiations. Marcus builds empires. So why does everyone think David won and Marcus lost? Because Marcus threatens something deeper than they want to admit. Machiavelli spent years studying men exactly like Marcus. His discovery was shocking. Society doesn't actually fear single men. We fear the man who chose solitude because he proves that everything we've been sold about needing someone else to complete us is a lie. But wait, there's more to this story. The single man isn't missing anything. He's operating from a completely different level of strategic power. While everyone else makes compromises, he's playing an entirely different game. And that game, that's what terrifies them. If you've ever felt judged for choosing yourself over settling, this video will change how you see everything. Hit like, subscribe, and let's expose the truth they don't want you to know. In ancient Florence, Machiavelli watched princes rise and fall, blood on the marble steps, another prince dead before his 30th birthday. Machiavelli sat in the shadows, taking notes. He'd watched this scene play out dozens of times. The weak rulers always fell the same way, through the people they loved most. But the survivors, they understood something that would make your skin crawl. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Marriage demands the exact opposite. Complete emotional nakedness, total psychological transparency. You share your fears, your insecurities, your secret dreams over morning coffee. Sounds beautiful, right? It's strategic suicide. You know that weird tension you feel around certain single men, the ones who seem to glide through life untouchable. Machiavelli had a name for that feeling. And once I tell you what it is, you'll never look at your married friends the same way. Think about your married buddy Dave. Sweet guy, loves his wife, posts anniversary photos. But watch him in a business meeting. Every major decision gets run through the "what will Sarah think" filter. His bold moves, gone. His risk tolerance, chopped in half. His unpredictability, completely neutered. Dave has become readable, exploitable, manageable. But Marcus, the guy who shows up alone to every event, he's what Machiavelli called the ghost in the machine. His real motivations are invisible. His next move is anyone's guess. His resources flow where he decides, when he decides, without explanation or negotiation. When opportunity knocks, he doesn't need a family meeting to answer the door. Stop and think about your last life-changing decision. Did you choose based purely on what would advance your mission? Or did you run it through someone else's emotional calculator first? Here's the brutal truth that makes everyone squirm. The single man doesn't have that filter, and that terrifies people. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But here's the part that'll keep you up tonight. Love doesn't just make you weak. Love makes you controllable. When you love someone more than your own mission, you've essentially handed every competitor, every enemy, every manipulator in your life a remote control to your decisions. Florence Nightingale figured this out before anyone else. When the marriage proposals started flooding in, she wrote something that scandalized Victorian society. "I have an intellectual nature which requires satisfaction, and that would not find it in his life." She saw the trap. Marriage would mean checking with a husband before traveling to war zones, before challenging medical authorities, before revolutionizing an entire field. Her strategic solitude wasn't loneliness, it was freedom. And that freedom allowed her to save more lives than any complete woman of her era, because her effectiveness wasn't getting diluted by domestic negotiations. This is the pattern Machiavelli observed in history's most dangerous operators. They maintain what he called strategic opacity, revealing only what serves their purpose, keeping multiple options open, avoiding any commitment that limits their freedom of movement. The married man has made the ultimate commitment. He's promised to filter every major life decision through another person's comfort zone. Noble? Absolutely. Strategic? Absolutely catastrophic. His enemies know exactly which buttons to push. His competitors know his weak spots. His allies know he can be influenced through emotional pressure points. But here's where Machiavelli's research gets really disturbing. He discovered something that explains why the strategically single man has such overwhelming advantages, despite everyone thinking he's broken, incomplete, or missing life's greatest treasure. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Your brain is processing millions of data points right now. Patterns, opportunities, connections, threats, all happening beneath your conscious awareness. But here's what nobody talks about. Marriage forces you to externalize this processing. Every brilliant insight gets filtered through explanation mode. Every strategic move requires justification. Every leap of intuition needs to be translated into language someone else can understand and approve. Think about it. Einstein didn't discover relativity during dinner conversation with his wife. It happened during those long, solitary walks where his mind could wander without interruption. Tesla's world-changing inventions. Born in the quiet hours when he was alone with his thoughts, free from having to explain his crazy ideas to anyone. And Machiavelli's most dangerous insights about power. They emerged during his exile. Stripped of political relationships, forced to think purely. So what's really happening in the strategically single man's mind while everyone assumes he's just dodging commitment? He's accessing something most people have forgotten exists. While you're explaining your latest business breakthrough to someone who might not get it, he's already calculating move 4. While you're navigating relationship dynamics over breakfast, he's connecting dots between opportunities you haven't even noticed yet. This is why his success seems to come out of nowhere. It's not coming from nowhere. It's coming from months of uninterrupted strategic processing that's been happening while everyone thinks he's just being selfish. Remember Marcus from that networking event? While David was texting about dinner plans, Marcus's brain was doing something completely different. Mapping power dynamics, identifying decision makers, calculating leverage points. No explanations needed, no emotional temperature checks, just pure strategic intelligence operating at full capacity. Machiavelli called this the lion and the fox, the ability to be both powerful and cunning simultaneously. But here's the catch. This requires something most people trade away for relationship comfort. Complete sovereignty over your own decision-making process. The strategically single man has accepted something that makes most people uncomfortable. His mind works differently when it belongs entirely to him, and that acceptance unlocks something all the relationship advice in the world can't provide. Pure, undiluted strategic thinking. But now, we're getting to the part that really makes people squirm. This isn't actually about relationships at all. This is about power structures that depend on your compliance. Machiavelli understood that the greatest threat to any system isn't rebellion. It's the individual who doesn't need the system's approval to function. Think about the life script you've been handed. Go to school, learn to follow instructions. Get a job, trade hours for money under someone else's rules. Find your other half, because apparently you're incomplete alone. Build a life that requires constant validation from others to maintain. The strategically single man looks at this entire setup and asks one simple question: why? And suddenly, nobody has a good answer. He pursues ambitions without permission slips, dreams without emotional support committees, ideas without requiring someone else's blessing first. This makes him fundamentally unpredictable. And unpredictable people are kryptonite to systems built on predictability. But here's the fear that keeps society awake at night, the one nobody wants to voice. What if he's right? What if complete sovereignty over your own existence actually is more powerful than partnership? What if dreams pursued from total independence have a higher success rate than dreams watered down by relationship compromise? If that's true, and Machiavelli's research suggests it might be, then millions of people have been surrendering their strategic advantages for nothing, trading mental clarity for emotional comfort, swapping freedom of movement for domestic security, giving up their most dangerous capabilities for a system that was never designed to maximize their individual power. The strategically single man isn't just living differently. He's living proof that there's another way entirely. A way that doesn't require endless negotiation with someone else's limitations. A way that doesn't demand you shrink your dreams to fit someone else's comfort zone. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities." But the single man isn't obeying present necessities. He's creating future possibilities. And that's what makes him truly dangerous to a world built on compliance. But here's where this story takes a turn that'll hit you right in the chest, because Machiavelli himself lived exactly what he preached, and what happened to him reveals everything about the price and the power of choosing strategic thinking over social approval. Picture this. Florence, 1512. Machiavelli's political career implodes overnight. The Medici family returns to power, and suddenly the man who once advised princes is persona non grata, exiled to his small farm outside the city. His former colleagues whispered behind closed doors. Brilliant guy, but too intense, too uncompromising. If he'd just played the relationship game better. Society labeled him finished. A cautionary tale about what happens when you choose ideas over people-pleasing. But here's what they didn't see coming. During those years of apparent isolation, while everyone thought he was fading into irrelevance, Machiavelli was doing something that would outlast every one of his critics. He was studying power from the outside, analyzing its patterns without getting caught up in its daily dramas. Writing insights that would reshape how humans understand leadership for the next 500 years. From his solitude came The Prince. From his strategic separation came ideas so powerful they still make politicians uncomfortable today. All of this emerged from what looked like social failure, but was actually strategic positioning. This is the pattern with history's most dangerous minds. They appear disconnected from normal social structures because they're not wasting energy on relationship maintenance. They're engaged in something bigger. Napoleon didn't conquer Europe by seeking approval for his battle plans over dinner. Einstein didn't revolutionize physics by prioritizing social obligations over breakthrough insights. The strategically single mind is pure, undiluted, and therefore dangerous to conventional thinking. Marriage demands compromise where greatness demands conviction. It requires consensus where innovation requires singular vision. It asks you to be half of something when you were designed to be entirely yourself. Here's what Machiavelli understood that our relationship-obsessed culture is still learning. The strategically single man isn't broken. He's evolved. Maybe you're starting to see yourself in this mirror. Maybe you're wondering if you're one of these people society has mislabeled as incomplete. Machiavelli wrote, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." But becoming who you truly are, that requires a different kind of courage entirely. Let me show you the signs. If you recognize these patterns in yourself, everything you've been told about your issues is about to flip upside down. First sign: you make decisions based on strategic value, not social temperature checks. While others are polling their partners about business ideas, your choices emerge from pure strategic calculation. You can't explain this process to people who filter every decision through relationship management committees. Second sign: traditional relationship advice makes you feel weaker, not stronger. Every time someone tells you that you need to find your other half, something in your gut rebels. You instinctively know they're asking you to surrender strategic advantages for emotional comfort. Third sign: your energy and focus hit peak performance when you're not managing someone else's emotional weather system. Others call this antisocial. You know it's actually accessing levels of strategic thinking that become impossible when you're constantly reacting to relationship dynamics. Sound familiar? That's not selfishness. That's your strategic intelligence operating at full capacity. Machiavelli discovered that true power comes from understanding human nature while remaining free from its limitations. While everyone thinks you're just avoiding commitment, your mind is calculating possibilities they can't even see. You're not avoiding anything. You're optimizing for something most people trade away without realizing its value: complete sovereignty over your own existence. But here's the part that changes everything. You've been taught to see these traits as character defects. You've been trying to fix yourself to become more like the compromising people around you. Machiavelli would tell you to stop. He'd tell you that your independence isn't a bug in your programming. It's the feature that makes you dangerous. When you finally stop apologizing for who you are and start weaponizing it strategically, something incredible happens. You gain access to something relationship-focused that people never developed: pure, undiluted personal power. This is why your ambitions seem unreasonably large to others. When you're not bleeding energy into emotional management, you have fuel for visions that actually match your true potential. This is why your confidence looks unearned to people around you. When your self-worth isn't hostage to external validation, you can believe in possibilities others dismiss as fantasy. But here's the part that stops most people cold: actually accepting this truth about yourself. Because once you do, there's no going back to pretending you're like everyone else. Now comes the question that keeps you up at night. How do you actually live as a strategically single man in a world that treats relationship conformity like a moral imperative? Machiavelli believed the first step toward real power is accepting your nature completely. But acceptance without strategy? That's just expensive therapy. Here's your tactical playbook. Rule 1. Stop apologizing for your independence. Your decision to remain strategically single isn't selfish. It's strategic positioning. When people pressure you to settle down, that's not concern for your happiness. That's discomfort with your freedom, making them question their own choices. Rule 2. Master the difference between solitude and loneliness. The strategically single man needs solitude like a professional athlete needs training time. Real solitude feels powerful, necessary, like accessing your full operational capacity. Loneliness feels anxious, empty, like you're missing something essential. When you're in true strategic solitude, breakthrough insights flow. When you're just lonely, nothing comes but more social pressure to fix yourself. Rule 3. Develop what Machiavelli called strategic patience. This isn't passive waiting. This is conscious preparation for when your moment arrives. While others are negotiating their dreams through relationship committees, you're gathering resources, building capabilities, positioning yourself for opportunities they'll never even recognize. But here's the part that separates the pretenders from the real deal. You have to stop measuring your success by other people's relationship timelines. Society wants everyone paired off by 30. The relationship industrial complex promises happiness through partnership. Social media celebrates couple goals like their life achievements. But Machiavelli understood something deeper. Real power develops on its own timeline. Your strategic advantages might take years to fully manifest. Your independence might not pay dividends until you're 40, 50, even 60. And that's not failure, that's mastery. Think about this. Every strategically single man in history was told he was missing out on life's greatest joy. Machiavelli himself got criticized for choosing political analysis over domestic bliss. His insights seemed impractical, even dangerous, for decades. But when his moment came, everything he'd been quietly developing suddenly became relevant. His independence wasn't isolation. It was preparation for contributions that outlasted all his relationship-focused contemporaries. This pattern repeats throughout history. The guy everyone dismissed as commitment-phobic suddenly emerges with something that changes everything. Why? Because while everyone else was optimizing for relationship harmony, he was optimizing for strategic clarity. While they were following social scripts, he was developing his own understanding. While they were performing relationship success, he was actually becoming someone worth being. Here's what nobody tells you about the strategically single path. Your moment will come, but it won't look like anyone else's moment. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." You've been developing what you really are while everyone else focuses on maintaining appearances. You've been building strategic capacity while they've been building social acceptability. And that capacity gives you something relationship culture can't provide, the ability to move through the world without showing your cards. But your moment won't announce itself with Hollywood fanfare. It won't fit the romantic narrative movies have programmed us to expect. Instead, it will feel inevitable, like something that was always meant to happen. The circumstances will align, the timing will click, the opportunity you've been unconsciously preparing for will suddenly have a clear path to reality. And when that moment arrives, all those years of apparent social disconnection will reveal themselves as necessary strategic positioning. Every day you spent alone was actually your mind solving problems others couldn't see. Every period without relationship drama was your strategic intelligence making connections that emotional management would have prevented. Society fears the strategically single man because he represents something they can't control, a different relationship with power, with success, with human potential itself. He proves that maybe the problem isn't single people who need to find completion. Maybe the problem is a system that pathologizes natural strategic independence and tries to force everyone into the same limiting mold. If you have big ambitions but struggle with relationship expectations, if you have strategic instincts that seem disconnected from social approval, if you've been labeled commitment-phobic despite having a mind full of dangerous possibilities, Machiavelli would recognize you immediately. You're not broken. You're not selfish. You're not failing at life. You're operating from a different part of human potential than society is equipped to recognize. The question isn't whether you'll achieve your ambitions. The question is whether you'll have the courage to trust your strategic instincts long enough to let them manifest. Because Machiavelli was right. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. And sometimes, the most strategic thing you can do is trust what you are, even when the rest of the world can't see it yet. The strategically single man isn't society's problem. He's society's evolution, and that's exactly why they fear him. You're standing at the edge now. On one side lies the well-worn path they've mapped out for you. Find someone. Shrink your vision to fit relationship harmony. Trade your dangerous potential for domestic comfort. Become half of something safe instead of entirely yourself. It's a comfortable path, predictable, socially approved. It's also where dreams go to die slowly. On the other side lies something infinitely rarer and infinitely more terrifying. Becoming exactly who you were designed to be, without apology, without compromise, without needing another soul's permission to exist at full capacity. This path comes with no guarantees about happiness, no promises about ease, no social safety net to catch you if you fall. But it offers one thing the other path never can. You will belong entirely to yourself. And from that complete ownership of your existence, you might create something that outlasts your flesh. Something that changes the trajectory of other lives. Something that justifies the audacity of being born with the mind you were given. The choice is yours. But understand what you're choosing. If you take the strategic path, there's no going back to comfortable mediocrity. Your mind will expand to fill the space you give it. Your ambitions will grow to match your actual capacity. Your standards for what's possible will shift permanently. You'll start seeing opportunities others miss because they're too busy managing relationship dynamics. You'll develop insights that come only from deep, uninterrupted thinking. You'll build something from the raw material of your uncompromised vision, and people will fear what you become. Because you'll represent everything they traded away for security, every dream they negotiated down to manageable size, every possibility they abandoned for someone else's comfort zone. Your strategic intelligence is waiting to show you what you're capable of when nothing holds you back, when no one else's limitations become your limitations, when your mind belongs entirely to the mission you were born to fulfill. But first, you have to choose. If you've made it this far, something fundamental has already shifted inside you. The comfortable lies about what you should want don't fit anymore. The social programming that said you were incomplete alone has started glitching. You're ready. Write in the comments. I choose strategic independence. Let's see how many are done compromising and ready to start conquering. Let's see how many are willing to bet on themselves instead of settling for someone else's version of your life. Because this isn't your journey's end. This is where your real power begins. The strategically single man doesn't just live differently. He evolves differently. And evolution, as Machiavelli knew, is never comfortable for those who choose to remain the same.